Hey, what's up, guys? Node Investor here. Hope everyone is doing well coming back from the weekend. A very quiet, flattish weekend. Glad I was away from the charts most of the time, but wow, finally seeing some green. Hey, good stuff. Bitcoin continues to rally, knocking on the door of 7,200. We'll see if we could crack it. Keep in mind this was some resistance here, but ETH finally. I was waiting for these alts to finally show some life versus Bitcoin. Seeing a very nice breakout after this tight range here. Was watching this here over the weekend. Finally pop into the upside. Very good move there on ETH. So we're going to cover all that. I'll be talking BTC, the dominance chart, the stock markets. Is it done? Has it bottomed? There's some small optimism in the air. A little bit of hope showing up. We'll see. I'm going to talk about all of that here. Just going to post a few things here and we will get right to it. So I hope you guys are all doing well on this, week 3 of lockdown, week 4 for some of you guys. And I know it's kind of hit or miss everywhere. Some people are really locked down and other people are just kind of locked down. Myself, I'm fortunate enough that we have some really good weather out here right now, and there's not a whole lot of restrictions in terms of being outside enjoying the good weather, just all the normal restrictions, but got to spend a lot of time outside this weekend. Parks, hiking, trails, bikes, all that good stuff, eating meals outside in the grass. I mean, I can't complain, cannot complain. But for still being mindful, still thinking of those who are sick, still thinking of our frontline workers, the real heroes right now, the people that are serving others in the healthcare facilities. And I know some of my neighbors are doing that, and I just cannot thank those people enough. It takes a lot of courage to to go to work right now and to deal with all that. So got to keep them in mind. Those are the real heroes right now. All right, so let's see here. I'm trying to get, let me see what's going on here. Let me get the link, and then we will go ahead and get to this. I'll try to keep it relatively brief here, and of course, if there's any names you guys want to look at, anything specifically, we'll do that. We got Melissa in the house. Let me put my comment box over so that I can read it. And actually, I just realized I didn't set the formatting here on this screen, so that way, there we go. That's probably better for you guys. All right. Sorry, it's been a while. It's been like a whole week since I live streamed. Getting back to it, man. Rusty. Oh man. All right. So let me see here. I'm trying to. Okay. If somebody on the Slack group has the link, do you mind posting that for me on the Slack group? I'd appreciate that, sir. Oh man, and the likes. Thank you guys for the likes already. I appreciate the support as always. So, all right, I'm ready. Let's rock. Let's roll. Let's get to this here. So, as always, before we get started, we'll take a look at the Node Insiders page here, and there is a link in the video description here with the discount code SAFE. That is continuing to be valid. That'll be valid through the end of April, so you got plenty of time there. And if I understand correctly, if you're a current subscriber, you can, if you update your whatever your membership, or if you change it to another form, for monthly, if you go quarterly or something, I believe you can still use that and apply that discount code. So that should be available to you guys if you want to use that. So pretty good discount there, 25% off your first payment there. But all in all, the bots finally, this is the first time it went long in quite some time. Somebody in the Slack group pointed it out. They saw the bot go long yesterday evening my time, and noticed that that was the first time the bot strategy had actually been long on the 4-hour chart since I believe the end of February. So it's been a long time coming. Mostly it's just been going short flat, finally going long. The daily chart's not going to go long for a little bit more time here, I believe. Let me see here, based on the well, I don't need to pull that up right now, but it probably won't go long until after, I believe, like 7,700 or 7,800, and then they'll start looking for long signals based on the algorithm that I use there. So for now, Wouldn't surprise me if it went short, honestly, if it started to pull back here. But for now, hey, there's some green on the board for a change. Finally seeing some good action in the alt space. Monero has been one of the leaders as of late. Mostly I've been watching ETH, Bitcoin Cash as some of that, but Stellar having a really good day. But I've been watching the big cap names, as you guys know. That was kind of my thesis last week. It didn't really play out, but they're finally playing some catch up here. And so let's start with the big dog first. Of course, we'll look at BTC here, and this is the 4-hour chart going back, you know, for almost a month here, and it's just kind of been making these higher lows, pausing along the way. And then last week we saw a nice little rally, right? We had this bounce pulling back, and I was looking for that, you know, somewhere between 6K and 6,300. It undercut here and very quickly got back over 6,300. That was kind of my go signal, but all I really did was just trade this right here. That was just kind of a quick long. There was probably some good short trade opportunities on the way down, considering the volatility. It was long and short. You could have been scalping both ways. But then after that, over the weekend, just kind of went sideways. I was looking at this as a potential double top on the 1-hour chart, so I just went flat here, and I thought I'm just going to let this settle out, get back to it after the weekend. And yeah, it just kind of did nothing for most of the weekend. There was a couple of fake outs, a couple of shakeouts, nothing going on. Then notice yesterday it started to really coil up. The moving averages were still being held. The 10 EMA above the 22 on the daily, or the 4-hour, excuse me. On the daily, the 10 was about to cross over. Probably has now. Yeah, just barely did. Yesterday it was looking like it was about to cross over, and so price was still holding above both, and so it was looking like it was ripe for a little pop. We started to see some breakage above that 6,900, then 7K, and it's still going. So nice little rally here. Shorter term, as I posted in the Slack group yesterday, I was looking at this 1-hour charts. It was probably here when I posted, and I said, you know, it's looking like it wants to go higher. It's clearing some resistance. So short term, I'm thinking we see some more upside, but longer term, macro view, still cautious, right? So by that I mean, yeah, that's a good trade, definitely worth trading, especially this little, you know, 5-10%. The alt's even bigger, which is nice for a change. But bigger picture, you've got to keep this in mind, right? This little rising wedge, I still think we're going to need at some point a higher low to be formed on that. Next resistance was really the same target I was looking at last week, which was this little range here, and then maybe, you know, around here. So that hasn't changed a whole lot. So we could still continue to see this thing rally to the upper 7Ks, 8Ks maybe. But that's what I'm looking for as your first target before you finally get a decent pullback. Now, the big caveat here is the halving is still coming up on the radar. Does the market react to that? Is that a factor still? It's hard to say right now, even though people have started to talk about it again. It hasn't really been a factor. Mostly crypto has just been following the global markets. Yesterday evening, my time, the stock market was signaling a big open at the market. The futures were pointing higher, and I thought Bitcoin's going to follow. That's just been the case. When the stock market has had a little red day, Bitcoin has paused or pulled back. And so we're seeing that play out right now. The market's up pretty big today in the US, and so that's happening. But look at this weekly chart. This is what I want to point out, right? You've got the 10 EMA right here at around 7,300 on the weekly, and then the 22 right around 7,800 or so. And this little zone here, look at the volume starting to come down as this rallies, and that's what I mean by the macro view. Even though we've had a very nice bounce from a percentage basis, at some point I'm thinking we need at least get a higher low if this is going to continue. I don't expect this to be a just straight down, straight back up without any pullbacks along the way. That'd be very, very unusual to not see any pullbacks along the way. And this is the zone that I'd be looking for those pullbacks to start forming. If I did a fib retracement from this impulse candle, this red candle, down to the low, the wick low, then you're talking the 618 is at 70, or yeah, 76.75. So just shy of 77, give or take. That lines up well with this little zone. Right now we're just barely crossing over that 50%. So that's what I'd be looking for near term as a target on the upside. And then at that point, I'm thinking we do finally get that pullback. I really do think we'll finally see it. Now, how deep the pullback lands is going to tell a lot. If it's a very minor, shallow pullback that then starts to hold and gets going again, very bullish. If it's a very sharp and violent pullback that goes straight down, not quite as bullish, because then this would just signify it was just a big oversold bounce, lower volume. And so that's going to tell us a lot on how this does. But yeah, the weekly chart does feel bearish, right? If you're looking at this, if this was a daily or a 4-hour chart, I'd be shorting right here, right? If it was a daily chart, I'd be starting to scale into some shorts going into this resistance. And then I'd use my stop just above, right, this little zone here. Because this is a weekly chart, that's a huge percentage on the lower time frames. So I'm certainly not going to take that stance. But, you know, if it was a shorter term time frame, yeah, I'd be saying this is a bearish bounce. And so it's just something to make note of. But this is the potential start of a low being formed. And ultimately, that's what I think is happening here. I do think that the big wick low we saw was a climactic washout. It was a reaction to the liquidity events across the globe. And that just really destroyed some longs, some margin players, just everything, right? And so that's a huge low to be retested. But ultimately, I think you'll get a retest and then some sort of base that ultimately finally breaks out, and then we start heading higher again. I don't personally expect to see this undercut and we take out this, you know, sub 4K wick low. I don't see that. If it does, you know, then you'd be looking for a double bottom type of pattern here on the weekly. But the more likely scenario in my book is going to be some sort of higher low and then some sort of consolidation before you finally get the rally. This is the weekly chart, for those of you wondering. This is the weekly view. And you got to look back at, you know, the last big shakeout we had a couple years ago, right? You had this rally, nice bounce, and then the weekly chart, you know, volatility started to dry up, got quiet, and then boom, the big breakout. And that kicked off a multi-month rally, right? And that's what I'm looking for here. I'd like to see a pause, a little bit of a pullback, maybe 1 week or two, then a little bit of sideways, quieter action, then pop. But we'll see. These are certainly unusual times, but, you know, right now the daily chart, 10 EMA is about to cross bullish over the 22 EMA. Looking positive there. Has been in a very tight consolidation pattern for the last 3-4 days. Inside bars forming, finally had that bullish break. Here's the 1 hour view again. This is what I was watching here over the weekend, just getting smaller and smaller and smaller, really flat, nothing to do. You had an early signal here. I believe that's when the 4 hour bot went long, was on that bar here, because if you look at the 4 hour bot, it is finally long, first time. This is 7:30 p.m. my time yesterday, so that's what is that? That's probably about 16 hours ago. And so if you just do this here real quick, right here. So yeah, it was right here. So yeah, that makes sense. So that's about where the bot went long there. So a pretty good call there. But you know, I'm always cautious when we have these transition periods, right? If you look at the daily chart, it's been mostly short for some time. You kind of seen this transition going into the you know, into the higher time frames that are trying to form a low. So we'll see how this one plays out. But so far, BTC is continuing to bounce after some little consolidation into the weekend. Now the alts, that's the bigger story right now, in my opinion. The alts are finally getting some life. They were due. They were just way overdue for some bounce action versus Bitcoin. Let's go look at that BTC dominance chart here. So if I pull up the BTCD, yeah, finally. So this is what I was watching, right? The 68% number, which is right where it peaked. I mean, almost to the penny. That's amazing. I mean, this 68% is right there, literally. You can see 6801 on the chart. That's where that end of the arrow is. And it has just kind of been a pullback since. Very good. That means, you know, even though Bitcoin's going up, alts are going up faster, which is what we in the crypto land love to see here. And so BTC dominance dropping, the total crypto market cap rising, hitting $200 billion again. I'm positive longer term. I think that was the low, that climactic low, but you're gonna have to have pullbacks along the way. I personally am not in the camp of, boom, this is it, it's all over, we're going straight to 300 billion. If we do, that'd be amazing, but who knows. I'm still maintaining some long exposure on the BTC side, no doubt, but I'm just gonna, I think the pullbacks will be opportunities. I guess that's a good way to say it. I'm not bearish. I think pullbacks are opportunities. So All right, so let's go look at some of these big cap names. I'm going to start with ETH because this is the one I've been watching for some time. And look at that, beautiful. It's about darn time. This one was the setup to be watching in terms of altcoins outperforming BTC here. I was probably about a week early. I was thinking it would happen last week, and it was just kind of consolidating. But this yellow line here, this 0.021 or so, is what I was watching for a breakout. And then of course here over the weekend just got really close to it, really tight, and then volume came in and boom, off to the races. Very nice move. Of course you're seeing that translate on the USD side. If you look at ETH USD, go to Coinbase, outperforming, taking out several levels of resistance. You know, the near term resistance was, you know, this little, let me show you guys here, was this little kind of symmetrical consolidation, right? The symmetrical triangle. That was kind of your very near term. Longer term, right, was this one to be watching. Pretty much took them both out in one fell swoop. And at this point, you know, it's kind of anywhere it could go from here. There's not a lot of resistance up until the 180s, and then after that, the low 200s. Do we get there? I don't know. I can see 180s. I don't know about 200s. That's kind of a stretch, especially if Bitcoin starts to pull back. But this is a little bit of a vacuum here on the daily chart. You can see it's just kind of in no man's land now. At this point, just trailing stops is the way to go. Lower time frames, 4-hour chart probably, and just ride it until it doesn't. But you know, my personal approach on these kind of moves generally is I'll scale out into the strength, at least part of the position, and then if it does pull back and hold, say it forms a bull flag or something on the 1 hour or the 4 hour, then I might add some more back in there. But that one's looking really good there. Let's do a fib on this guy. I'm going to start with this impulse move here. So you're at the 50%. 618 would take you right to 186. So yeah, that's probably my target for this guy right now, is that 186, 180s on the ETH USD here. BCH, another one moving very nicely here. This has probably got room to run here, just finally cracking above some resistance. You can see this was very near-term resistance, cracking, a little bit of a pullback. This was one I was a little bit more positive on last week. I thought last week was the week for it. Look at it on the BCH USD side. This was the targets that I laid out on the daily chart here, and so far so good. It was still a good entry, but it just sat tight for a few days, but no big deal. Never undercut the moving averages. Still going up. First target is at 275, 278, and then up to maybe 300, but personally I'm thinking it's getting close here. But nice little move here on BCH, continues to rally. And so when you see these big cap names rally, the ETHs, the Bitcoin Cash and XRPs of the world versus Bitcoin, when they start to do this, that's what's driving this BTC dominance right here. Yeah, there's always other altcoins rallying versus Bitcoin. Always. I mean, very rarely is this trending list empty. There's been a few times, but it's very brief. It usually only lasts for a day. But there's been a few times where it's like, there's nothing on the list. Nothing is rallying versus Bitcoin. But most of the time, there's something here. And so there's always something moving versus Bitcoin. Sometimes it's a lot of names, sometimes it's not, but there's always something moving. But when it's the bigger caps, those are the ones that drive this chart, right? The top 10 names, the Cardano, the XLMs of the world. Let's go look at that guy because that one's having a very nice day here. Stellar Lumens, pop in. Again, a lot of these very short term are overextended. Look at the RSI on this guy. And so I wouldn't necessarily be chasing these here, but watch these moving averages as they start to catch up. Either form a bull flag or a pause. At most, you probably don't want to see them pull back below this prior breakout points here, but that's what I'd be looking for if you're looking to catch some of those, or you jump on the ones that haven't had the big move just yet. So Zcash was showing a very nice pop last night. Here, is it still going? A little bit, pulling back right now. XMR has been one of the leaders as of late. Maybe it's finally done. We see some rotation. I'm looking at these two lines here as potential resistance zones. That may be the place for it to finally pull back here. Tezos, how's Tezos looking? All right, Tezos is not a bad candidate here. Finally cracking a little bit of downtrend resistance here as many of these other names get going. Not quite the leader yet, but could be the next ones to get moving here. XRP breaking the downtrend here as well. Let me put a line there for you guys. Nice little break above the downtrend there with some okay volume. Not tremendous, but not bad. Not bad. Tron was on the list yesterday, having a strong day. Still holding up. Nice little breakout. Look, so I had a breakout. This got it on the list yesterday. And then it just has consolidated. It had a little bit of a pullback right to the 10 EMA on the 4-hour, which was also the line that it broke over. And now it's bouncing higher, so that one looks pretty good there. Here's the daily view, finally breaking the downtrend on Tron. We'll see how much further that one can go. So you get the gist. Not too shabby. There's a few names. Here's EOS. EOS looking nice here, popping above the downtrend there. You can see the moving averages getting taken out as it finally shows some life here. Here's the 4-hour view, breaking higher, good volume coming in. So alts, very good. How long does it last, right? That's the question. Is it the start of something big, or is it just a little bit of a counter trend rally? At this point, in my opinion, I'm just going to trade this like a counter trend rally, only because I still think Bitcoin needs a little bit of a breather ultimately. But the fact that we've had this, a couple weeks of trying to hold a low, but we still had not seen any confirmation, but now you're finally getting that day one move out of range. If you get a little bit of pullback, then yeah, you can see a couple weeks of counter trend rally versus Bitcoin in some of these alts. It's well overdue. I mean, they have just been slaughtered since February versus Bitcoin, basically across the board. I mean, look at this. This is February 17th, pretty hard smack, and we were just due. I was waiting for it. Been waiting for this for the last week. I think BCH is a good candidate for some follow through, and so. How long does it last? I'm thinking a week or two maybe. We'll see how it goes from there, but we were overdue. After that, it's kind of anyone's guess, but now that the halving's going to be behind us, right? So let's say we see the alts rally, Bitcoin does its thing, but I think once we get past the halving, you're going to see some rotation from Bitcoin back into the alts, now that that's going to be in the rearview mirror. Ultimately, the halving will be bullish for Bitcoin. It's just a fundamental shift in the supply-demand structure. That's long-term very positive, but I think you can see some catch-up on some of these alts here near term, and they were just due. They were due. That's just really the only way to say it. I'll get to some of those other names. Let me go to the stock market here real quick. Do a quick overview of the stock market. The Dow Jones Industrial Average bouncing. Some of these names are bouncing right into these moving averages here. Let me go to the weekly charts. You can just see how oversold they were here. The 10 EMA on the weekly on the SPYs is still at 275. So I'm thinking we could bounce maybe up to that point, perhaps a little higher. But then at that point, I still expect to see at least a higher low, if not a new low on this. And the reason I'm still bearish on the alts is, or the alts, the stocks, is because of just the incredible damage that has been done to our economy as a result of the shutdown. Unprecedented. I mean, entire industries are going to be lost here because of this. Just small businesses will not survive in a lot of cases. The big names, absolutely, they got cash galore. They're going to be around. Those are the ones to be betting on right now, in my opinion. Everything technology related, right? Internet related, virtual world related is doing okay. AMDs of the world, Apples of the world, Amazons of the world. Look at Walmart. Walmart is one of the few names in the market that is actually making new highs. Look at this is the weekly chart of Walmart. Had some volatility, but it's new high territory here on a closing basis. Incredible, right? And so there's going to be some winners, no doubt. Amazon hasn't done bad. Amazon's holding up okay. Where is it here? Google's done Facebook, they're losing advertising dollars. That's their big model. Amazon holding up okay, right? So that's, it's a mixed ground out there, but there's other industries that are just going to take a long time to recover. You look at something like Southwest Airlines. Even after this blows over, I mean, the damage done to the airlines, travel industry is not going to be erased in 1 month. I mean, it's just going to take time. Earnings will come out, and that's why I'm thinking that stocks still have some work to do. Crypto could be the one that just rallies first because of the incredible amounts of stimulus pumped into the system. Same with gold. If everything blows over and the market says, all right, this is done, which I don't think it is, but if everything blows over and hey, we're back to normal, everything's back to people shopping and all that good stuff, the crazy amount of money that just got pumped into the system is going to have to start showing up here, and I think you'll see it show up in some of the hard assets, maybe even Bitcoin here. But look at Las Vegas Sands, Marriott, you know, Hilton, all these guys are certainly going to need some time to recover here. Got smacked pretty hard. Carnival Cruise Lines, I mean, no one's going to take a cruise for so long. They're, yeesh. Royal Caribbean, yikes. But there's some winners, no doubt. There's some winners. Here's Lockheed Martin. Hey, maybe it's wartime there. Tesla. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Tesla. I think long term they're doing some amazing things. They're more than just a car company. They're a data company, an energy company. They're doing some great things. But you know what drives most of the stock price action right now is how many sales are being done in Tesla. They had a record Q1, but you got to think about it. Like, even if you could afford a Tesla right now, are you really going to be buying a $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 car? I don't know. It just feels like a waste. I see so many Model X's driving around everywhere right now, and I just see them. I'm like, yeah, they're nice cars, but dang, like if you're financing it, you know, you're basically spending $1,000 a month. If you're buying it, you're dropping 90, 100 grand. What a waste. It just feels like that to me right now. So I don't know. I just don't see it happening. I think most of the people that are buying the Model 3s, the poor man Teslas, as I like to call it, even them, you know, they're going to reconsider. It's like, okay, do I really want to spend 50,000, 40, or not 50? They're 39 to 40,000. Do I want to spend 40,000 on a sedan right now? Probably not, right? Just my thoughts, but who knows? But there's some interesting moves out there in the stock market land. But we're having a really good day today, up 5%. This basically comes on the back of some positive news coming out of New York, some hope coming out of New York. Potentially, we're going to see the apex in the corona cases there, meaning new cases will start to slow down. That's the hope. We'll see if that really continues. I really hope it does. Gosh, let's just get through this already. But that's what's driving a lot of the move here as of late. But oh yeah, Kroger, man, Kroger, Costco, those guys have just been on a tear lately. They're so busy right now, those stores. But yeah, we'll see. Good stuff all around. Smash the likes. Yes, thank you. All right, so let's go back to the crypto world. We're seeing ETH. Needs a little bit of a pause here, but wow, good stuff. Finally, right? Bitcoin knocking on the door of 7,200. Here we go. Let's just start at the top here. So you know what I'm going to do real quick here. Let me go to the bot status here. And let's let this guy refresh. Ooh, that's a lot of green. Oh my gosh. It's a nice change for once. Well, I guess it doesn't matter at this point. I was thinking there wouldn't be that much green, so I'm going to just filter it alphabetically here then. All right, so let's see here. What's not green? Dash. Stronger names right now. According to this, the BMI matrix, right? Tron, Stellar, Monero. Yeah, Dash is the only one it's flat on. Everything else is pretty nice here. So let's go take a look at some of those. What else is moving here? So if I go to the trending list, Theta, Stellar, we saw that. Binance Coin. Let's see on the alerts here. Oh, I did notice that they finally added the KuCoin names to the list. So before KuCoin, if you clicked on the chart, it didn't work. But now I've noticed that TradingView has their KuCoin names on there, so you can see the KuCoin guys. So that's good. That's good for a change. So, all right. Let me close that guy out. Yeah. It's all good. And let me do this here. I'll do just on the moves for now. Maybe power pivots. And there's Link. There's Tezos. There's Neo. Cardano. And it's nice to see the alt BTC pairs. Notice they're not all USD pairs. Some of them are, but they're not all USD pairs, which is good. That's what we've been waiting on for some time here. So, all right, let's just start at the top here. BTC here. Are we done? Do we need to pull back? No, maybe. I don't know. It might just go sideways. The 10 EMA is still sub 7K on the 4-hour charts. I don't know. I don't know if I'd be chasing at this point. If you missed the breakout, maybe look for a pause or a pullback. But I'm looking more at the alts right now. You know, ETH, very nice move there. Let's start with the BTC pairs though. So looking at Cardano, Cardano's finally breaking out of range again. This one has been one of those decision time setups here. You got the lower trend line getting really close. The upper trend line, this is the moving averages starting to constrict here, and it was just kind of a matter of time. This might not be a bad one to rotate into after ETH and BCH and some of those first movers take a breather, and perhaps you see some rotation into Cardano. You're seeing a little bit of a pause here on the 1 hour, a little bit of a dip here, so maybe that's your potential zone to be looking at on the 1 hour view for a move higher. How high could this one go? Again, I think most of these are counter trend rallies for now, but that's probably your first target on Cardano here. So what is that? 530 to 570 would be what I'd be looking for there. That's not a bad move. That's another 8-10% or so, 10 to 12% versus Bitcoin from here. Looking at BATS, basic attention token, finally cracking a little bit of a downtrend here. Again, not quite the move like an ETH just yet, but near term showing some life along with the rest of the market here on the 1 hour view. And again, I'm in the camp of pullbacks probably buyable right now, for me at least, looking at potential bounces or bounces from these pullbacks. So that's what I'd be looking for on some of these names here. BNB, nice little move there, showing some good relative strength as you know, over the last couple of days. Pulled right back, look at this, right back to the moving averages, and then boom, showing a little bit of a pop. But we'll see if it can hold above the line right here. That's probably the line to be watching on the BNB side. Looking at BCH here, finally breaking out of this little range here, clearing some resistance here near term. This one I'm liking still on the USD side, as I mentioned before. Let me go back to that real quick. I'm thinking you get, you know, maybe 280s is your first target on this guy. So that's what I'd be watching there. Maybe 300s, but 280s wouldn't be bad. Been on the radar on this guy for about 220, so it was a really good risk reward setup here because you didn't have to give it much to the downside. Basically 200, 205 on the downside with the potential upside of, you know, it was almost a 5 to 1. This is what's highlighted here is a 7 to 1 trade, which is amazing. But even if you took it to here at today's level, that's a 4 to 1. So it's been a good trade. And then to the first target, it's about a 6 to 1. So tremendous little trade there. What else here on the BTC side? Dash is one of the ones that was looking weak here. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not so sure it's looking weak. It's just been lagging, but maybe one for a potential break out of this trend right there. And then if it does, then I'd be looking for a retest of this zone here. Most likely a lower high. So that's what I'd be looking for on Dash BTC there. EOS, good stuff on EOS here. Finally breaking the downtrend after holding a little bit of a low, looking positive. I think EOS is one that needs to play some catch up as well. So dips will be watched on this guy here. If you go to the EOS USD price, I mean, it broke out of this very nice ascending base here. So the what is that? Closing over 245, call it 250. That was really your level to be watching. 244 on the EOS chart, and you can see it was just, you know, higher lows, a little bit of a flat zone there, and then here over the weekend got really tight. And these are just ripe for a pop, and you had a kind of an early indication right down here, right? That was your early signal. This was the most recent resistance, which is usually the most important resistance. So nice little pop there. Still going, but man, it was $2 EOS. Good opportunity there. First target, probably that 310, and then maybe 340 on the way up. That'd be your first big target on some of these guys there. Let me see here. Yeah, major crypto. You know, so here's the thing with crypto. It's the FUD, the bad news on crypto is never going to go away. And that's just because, well, because of the nature of what crypto is, at least independent cryptos. If you look at, you know, the governments right now taking this opportunity of what's going on in the world to, how do I say this? I mean, there's an old saying, right? Never let a good crisis go to waste. And it's sad but true. And what happens is, you know, new laws are passed, and there's kind of a land grab, a power grab, a little bit more overreach. You know, privacy gets thrown out the window, and it's just amazing what can be justified in the name of quote unquote national security, right? And that's just always been the case with every crisis. You looked at 9/11, what happened there, and just every time something happens, it's just a little bit more gets eroded away. And the sad thing is people will complain for about a day or two, and then it just goes away. People are generally more than willing to oblige, and that's just unfortunate. So I say all that to say this. I think ultimately the governments want their own financial system to be blockchain based because it's just nice and convenient to track, you know, finance. I mean, if your dollar could tell a story about where it's been, what you did with it, and where you sent it, how convenient and how nice for those who are in power, right? And so that's ultimately what's coming. And any alternative to that is going to be a threat, and that includes these cryptos. And so, yeah, there's always going to be, you know, going on. Does the market react to it? I don't know. I mean, if it's survived everything else, the ICO threats, SEC, the lack of Bitcoin ETF, all that stuff, if it survived that, I think it'll be resilience. There's going to be individual projects that get hit for it, but I mean, who's going to sue Bitcoin? Right? I mean, the worst case scenario, which really is the only alternative for governments, is to fully 100% ban the use of Bitcoin, right? That would cause a massive reaction in the market. Other than that, I think it does well. So all right, Bitcoin 7,200. All right, so let's go here. I'm gonna do Icon or IOTA. Excuse me. I'll do Icon next. IOTA, definitely one to watch here as a potential candidate. Right over that call it 2,300 there. No, I didn't catch that one. I'll have to look at that interview there. It's a pretty good channel there, London Real. But yeah, look at IOTA BTC trying to test resistance there. Icon still pulling back after this little downtrend, but getting back over the line here. That's probably a good little rally point. Link. What's up with Link? The almighty Link. Not showing a whole lot of life just yet. Still below the daily 10 EMA. With these guys like this, that's what I'd be watching, right? The daily moving averages. Because they're finally starting to go flat, just like ETH did, right? It goes flat, and when it finally pops over these moving averages, that's when it starts to kick off a little bit more momentum. Litecoin looks like it's ready to rock versus Bitcoin here. A little bit of a low being put. Trying to do one of these again. We'll see if it finally happens this time, but that one's definitely on the radar right now. I took some Litecoin last week. I think it was a little too early there, but we'll see. Might be moving here. Ontology. Look at some of these USD charts here. Onto USD. I was noticing these yesterday, how flat they were, and they're finally popping. They're not popping much versus Bitcoin, but these guys were just so ready to move. Finally seeing a little bit of action out of these names here. So good to see there. Monaco, yeah, that one, MCO has been a good one here as of late. How's that looking right now? Yeah, it's still going. Looks like it's ready to have another leg up here on the daily after sitting tight for about a week or so. But there was a good breakout here. Shakeout, fake out, breakout, and has held up so far, moving averages. And again, this is a secondary move. Had this initial rally here in Q4, pausing. Last week was a big move. I think it's still going. I think it has room to run. Next big target is basically up here, and that's quite a ways out still. How's that look on the daily? Percentage wise, I mean, still about another 25 to 30% to go. Yeah, it's definitely one of the better ones right now. Has been a leader in this whole route, this whole pullback lately. There's Tezos. Looking at Tezos here, finally cracking a little bit. Not quite to the leader yet. I think ultimately it needs to get above, what is this, 26.5 or so, 26.4. Then it'll look a lot better, but it's going. basically everything, right? Alts are moving, right? There's Stellar, there's Tron, Zilliqa was moving yesterday, pulling back here a little bit, Zcash. So, you know, this is kind of a nice day one move off the lows. It's just going to depend on what Bitcoin does from here. Just keep in mind what I said, the bigger picture. I think we can see some more upside. Oops. But going into, you know, this little zone right here, things get pretty interesting at that point. Ultimately, I'm still thinking we get a higher low, but there might still be some more upside left to go before we see that here. Ultimately, I think we need some sort of higher low at least to test some of this. And in fact, I'm going to be looking for a short trade at that point. I think that'll make for a pretty decent little short trade if we do finally get a pullback from these levels. Just because the volume is rising on lower volume here, and people are starting to get in, you know, FOMOing here a little bit. So you might get that spike. We saw an interesting move last week, and we're still below the high from last week, but we're getting really close to it. So it'll be interesting to see if does it finally crack through it, or is that going to form a little bit of a double top here. So that's what I'm going to be watching here. But above that, again, this zone here is kind of the big zone to be watching for a potential pause. I might take some shots at it here for a downside move, but I'd be keeping a pretty tight stop. Probably 8K would be my max stop point on that side if I took the short trade there. So it's just going to depend on the price action and the volume and all that good stuff. I'm also going to be keeping an eye on the stocks because they've been a little bit of a leading indicator. And so going back to the stock market here, if I see the SPYs, let me go to the weekly charts. If I see the SPYs start to teeter out into this zone here, that may be my early signal that, all right, this is probably due for a pullback. And in that case, you might see the cryptos pull back along with stocks. So, you know, I'm just going to keep an eye on the macro point of view here for now. How's oil look? I'm thinking oil might have been done in terms of bottoming out. I think you need a pullback, but it feels like this $20 level was the low for oil. We'll see if that happens. Have a nice little rally up to this point here. If it can crack above that, then you got another leg up. Ultimately, it's going to need to fill this gap here, so potentially up to 42 bucks is the trade on oil. And last but not least, let's go look at some gold. Gold moving along with Bitcoin. Weekly chart of gold still looks positive. I'm still looking at 1800 as the target, so there's 1800 on gold. And then above that, who knows, maybe a little bit of a pullback there, but we'll see. Could see new highs in gold this year. That'd be interesting. Silver, definitely the laggard. Not too excited about it here. I think gold's a better alternative just because gold's a true alternative currency. Silver's not. It's a little bit more of a hybrid metal. The Dixie was the dollar index, just all over the place. Forex markets are going crazy right now. Everything's crazy right now. If you're a trader, there's opportunity galore everywhere. Jeez. Okay. So back to the BTC here. Cracked over that 7,200, all right, during the live stream. So good stuff. We'll see how this one plays out here today, going into this last week's high, which was basically just a few bucks short of 7,300 US. And from there, we'll see. You might see a nice little short squeeze go into that. What I'm thinking might happen is the pop and drop here, right? You get the big spike, short squeeze, boom, and then dump it here a little bit. So we'll see. For now, the long trade is the trade to go with for now, but I think the alts are the better place to be, and you're seeing ETH and some of these other names rally nicely, but just be cautious. The 1 hour charts are getting a little extended above moving averages. They're kind of going up. They don't go up straight up forever. They need a little bit of a breather. So, but I'm thinking pullbacks are positive right now, especially in the altcoin space. They're just so overdue for a rally versus Bitcoin, and I'm still thinking you get some more pullback in this chart here, this BTC dominance chart. I'm still thinking you get some more. So how low? Maybe if it's gonna just make a higher low, then maybe 64.4. But ultimately, I think you at least retest the lows, probably make a new low. So 64 to 62% on the downside would make a decent little rally for the alts. So that's what I'm looking at. Do I feel the fallout of this disaster is priced in stock-wise? For some of them, yes, but not all of them. And I think people are going to be shocked when the earnings start coming out and companies start guiding lower and all that stuff. But I think a lot of them certainly have been priced in, but not all of them. It's going to be industry specific, right? Travel, leisure, that's probably not priced in personally. Yeah, they've collapsed, but doesn't necessarily mean they just rally from here. They might just linger at the lows for a while. Other names, when things get back to normal, the leaders, the prior leaders, the tech companies, I think will do well. But I think you at least need a rally and then a pullback and then go from there. But you got to keep in mind, I mean, if it just depends, right? I mean, this event could have triggered other things that lead to traditional contractions in the economy. Things like a real estate bust, a commercial real estate bust. That's still not played out fully, in my opinion. And that's huge. I mean, that just represents a massive part of the economy: construction, service jobs, the capital markets, the lending markets, all that stuff. Massive. And it just feels like real estate's topped after this, just across the board. Mortgage applications have tanked. So even if people are back to normal and back, shops and restaurants open, the big money industries, right? Travel and leisure and real estate and all that, I just think it's not fully priced in yet. I think it's just going to take some time to recover. So that's what I'm looking out for, kind of what's the next wave of scare after the corona stuff gets back in there. And yeah, real estate's way slower moving, way slower. It plays out in quarters, not weeks and months. And so I'm still thinking that that's still in play. And if that happens, that spills over into just about every part of the economy. There's some other industries that are going to do very well, I think. Medical, biotech, some of those things will do well. But housing, construction, travel, leisure, I don't know. I don't know if they're done yet. So just kind of, it's a mixed bag out there, to say the least. All right. Well, guys, that's going to be it for today. I appreciate the likes. I appreciate the comments here. Just wanted to bring a market update, my thoughts on what's going on. Big picture view. I did Bitcoin first, so if you missed that, start at the beginning of the stream. But for now, alts are having a nice rally finally. So we'll see how this continues. But just keep in mind the bigger picture. Keep the weekly charts in mind, right? These downtrends, they take time to establish. Uptrends take time to establish. And so you're gonna need some turning of the trend, a little bit of a pullback. And then once you get that, right, you get this kind of pattern, this higher low type of thing going. And then when you take out the prior highs, that starts to set up a new trend, right? And that's what I'm hoping we see here. Rally, maybe a higher low, and then things start kicking off from there. That's, fingers crossed. That's what we're looking for, those type of moves. But this is weekly charts. It's going to take some time to play out. Hopefully the worst is behind us. Fingers crossed there. So, okay, guys, I wish you all the best into the new week. I wish you all good health and peace, and I will see you all in the next one.